Awesome. And we are recording. Okay. As always, I'm Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting. We use Dungeons and Dragons heavily, homebrewed, to tell our story. And the awesome folks that are joining me here on this Sunday afternoon are here to help me write it one chapter at a time. Danny is going to be on a 4-day excursion of a bunch of flying. So he's doing the good father work, and he's hanging out with the kids and stuff tonight. He'll be joining us next Sunday for the main gang. It's inside the water temple. But for tonight, we're going to see what kind of chaos these folks can get into here. Let's go ahead and do introductions. We will start with Colby, please.
My name is Colby, and I play Arsin, who is a draconic monk with a terrible dark side, sort of.
Terrible and sort of in the same sentence. No, go ahead. It's cool.
And he is suffering from major amnesia, and
Hold
has
on.
no and has.
Are you suffering from anesthesia? How numb is your character? Exactly. Hold on, let's try it again. Hi everyone, I'm Brian Kynes. This is Colby. Colby's character just got back from the dentist that he'd like to talk to you about how his trip went. Colby, go ahead and tell us how Arsin's trip to the dentist went.
Just terrible, Brian. Just terrible. He
absolutely hates needles. Write that down on his character sheet. Phobia of needles. Piercing damage causes fear. Absolutely. That's too fucking good. I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in. With respect for you, sir, if you go ahead and finish your introduction, and I'll stop picking on you. I'm sorry. Oh, it's too
that
good.
was well deserved. I said the wrong word. I said the wrong medical term.
Amnesia is what his character seems to be suffering from. It's all good. His mom's a teacher, and she's super proud right now. Guarantee it, bud. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry. Are you done? Have I already stirred the pot too much?
Yeah, I'm done. That's it. That's
Moving
all I can say
on.
right now.
Nowhere to go from up from here. Let's go ahead and talk to Bella. Bella, tell us about yourself and your character, please.
So I play Azara. She is a seemingly human dancer who's like the family's part of the circus, and she's trying to get the word out. And she is currently looking like a very old man,
yeah.
and trying to scoot on back to her family because we encountered a shady person last time.
You did.
Which reminds me, how could I forget? There we go. All right.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Now I'm set up for the session.
Yes. That's fantastic. That's so good. I mean, seriously, a lot of folks, I've not seen a lot of other games like this where people use this avatar app to do their characters. But if someone stumbles across this and sees this shit, I mean, this has got to catch on, right? I mean, that's pretty cool to be able to actually make the character's face and look like him in anime. That's pretty neat stuff. But thank you, Bella. I'm glad you're here today with us. Mr. Keaton, go ahead.
Well, most of the screaming's out of the way. We're just going to call those the screams of the netherworld.
The background, the spirits, the angered children are just, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the netherworld's like in Tales of Ulran.
It's a bunch of angry kids fighting over Doritos. Exactly. Forever and ever. Yeah.
I will be playing the part of Rook that comes from said netherworld. He is a nether-scorned Voldros.
Yes.
Who is a fighter with an apt for not fighting fair.
And a great idea for character, good stuff. I love the fact that we're creating things and you're saying things like nether-scorned Voldros. And those are things that we worked on together and created. That's so fun to do that and then see it work. So glad you're here as well, Mr. Keaton. So if you guys don't know already, well, you guys do, but if you're watching, I'm talking to you. Third wall broken. We make this one up as we go. I was talking to Bella briefly about world creation and what we try to accomplish, and how I can get back in the corner easy when I'm letting you guys completely steer. And I don't really pre-plan for this one. We just kind of go, and I hope you guys run into stuff I know about. And it's fun for me. It's fun for them. So let's go ahead and get back into it. We were at the end of a just completely improvised scene. When they rolled a 1d20, you know, trying to get from one place of the city to the other, and it's full, it's bustling, and all this shit's going on. If they roll a 20, I think it was really good and you guys were clear, but if you roll a 1 or a low number, you guys are fucked. Right? There's bad news. And they rolled like a 2, I think was a 2. And so I created this bugbear kind of bounty hunter that came after Mayasha, which was the Field Tigress that was putting on his performance. Azara's character and her have briefly met before. It was a good exchange, but Mayasha was a little bit of ornery in it and took a little something that was insignificant. But all of a sudden, this bugbear just comes out and is like, "I remember you, lady." And he comes out there, and the fight was on, and he's trying to fight her. Rook just stands up. It's like, nah, that's not going to happen this way. Didn't like the way it went. And a fight broke out. It's pretty cool. First battle for the folks. We got to see him using some Echo Knight shit, which was cool. And watching that video back and editing, figuring out the process of things. I hope you've done just a little bit of research into how that works, because I trust you. That's one good thing about this group. No one tries pulling major bullshit on me, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. But you know, you want to be legit when we do it.
So, one thing that I figured out.
Yeah.
I can expend my bonus action to elicit to incite an additional attack from my Echo, but I don't have to use a bonus action to make it attack with one of my attacks. So I could swing, and then it can swing, and then I can turn around with a bonus action and have it swing again. But I can only do that so many times.
Okay, so let's say you have 2 attacks around. Okay. You attack once, then you can use your second attack to make it swing once.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to, you could use your bonus action to make it attack a second time if you chose to.
Yep. Or I could swing twice and then have it bonus action once.
And I have made the executive decision that it takes magical damage to harm that Echo. Something that is blessed or something like that. Other than that, things pass right through it. Okay? Because we didn't find anything like that in the book. Or it may be out there. I didn't find it. That doesn't mean it didn't exist, right? So, but we're going to go with that because that makes sense to Brian and that sounds right. There you go. It's D&D. We do what we got to do with it, right? So, you're welcome. Right? Bella kind of took off and hid because these people, it's interesting, you know, trying to get them all to get together. And as soon as these two fight each other and we're getting the team building, she's like, no, there's this creepy guy and I need to hide. And so she stays in the guys that you're seeing down here below and kind of meanders off. Now, we were talking before a game like that, and she has some plans as far as possible healing, some things of that nature taking place. I'll see how you guys handle that, and we'll just move with it. And then lastly, when Arsin was headed down the large stone set of stairs, the legendary journey that takes you up to Tanima's Sanctuary of Wrath, up to Tanima's Temple, up the top of the side of the mountain. He was just getting out of the temple to get some fresh air, practically, to explore, to find out what life is like again. And Tanima has said, when you're ready, and you think that this is what you want to do, and you want to find yourself, and maybe I'll help you either deal with or bury that burden inside of you. You can come back to me and we will take care of that together. Because it sounds like the people that rescued you and those flashbacks, Colby, have asked Tanima for this favor. To work with you to see what he can do with you. And like I say, we're doing kind of a flashback thing, similar to what we did with kind of Silwyn, which works really good with the wisdom history checks and shit. That was the way her first episode was fantastic. So we're doing that kind of mechanic here with your character as well. So let's go ahead and start with the aftermath. We just saw this bugbear bounty hunter dressed in all kinds of thick hides and all kinds of different shit, these long chains. He just swang. Yeah, we create words here. Swung over the banister, Batman style, with these long flails that he had. And we heard the crowd down below. If I remember right, they were kind of, ooh, ah, look, who's this? We heard all this noise down below the next layer below us. Let's go ahead and take up from there. We're going to have a heavily hurt Rook left standing there, and Miasha collecting up her what are the chakrams, and the crowd starting to get back to normal, and starting to disperse nervously as if they saw a fight that's just been broken up. So in that moment, Rook, I'll start with you, boss. What exactly are you looking for in this moment? Are you possibly wanting to give chase? Are you what's your mind, bud? What are you thinking about doing in this moment?
The immediate after action is going to be a whole lot of. Was there anything, any emblems or anything like that he carried that he would have recognized or could maybe put to memory to ask about later?
Okay, so with that, go ahead and do. Let's do. You can't see it now to investigate it. Let's just do an insight and see if you were able to catch a glance of something of that nature, because you can perceive something's there, but we said insight is looking into the details of a thing.
17.
17 after bonuses. Okay. So, I would say, 15 gets you stuff, 20 gets you crazy stuff. With the 17, yeah, I'll give you this. He mentioned, and you remind me, the both of you, he said he was there on behalf of somebody. I don't know if he said a name or not. But he accused Miasha of being a spy and doing some treacherous shit. And he was here to collect her head for what she had done. That's roughly what I said, correct? Okay. Bella and Jeremy, do you remember if he shouted out a name or anything of that nature?
I don't think he said a name. I think he was just sort of alluding to a debt, right?
That's what I seem to recall.
Okay. So, as we talked about, he had these really heavily, he had all kinds of different furs and stuff that made up his patchwork half shawl on him and stuff of these rare animals. He had all kinds of beast horns and bones and brutal looking spiked pieces of plate armor and shit on him. He looked like just a walking fortress, right? Is the way I described him. And he had looks of pieces of the bounties that he's collected. Just a really ornate and dark kind of, what's the word I want to say, like a dark medieval fantasy type kind of armor that's put together by a freaking bugbear. So you can imagine how cruel this shit is. It's not pleasant to the eye, but it looks cool as fuck, right? So I will say, on part of that was a piece of banner that was draped around one part of his waist that he might have had, and it would have been used as almost like, how a hobo will put a stick over their shoulder in the old movies, and there's that sack that's made that carries a bunch of goods and shit. Okay. I'm going to say, with the 17, you would have noticed an emblem on this sack that he made out, some kind of banner. It actually might have had a little bit of a blood stain in it, to a degree. And I'm going to make this up right now on the fly. You recognize this as with all the time you spent, this is a airship banner. Okay? Now the name of it eludes you. But the picture and what you're able to see of it looked like it was a white banner background color, which would make sense why you could see some of the blood and stuff through it. It'd been well traveled. And let's make it seem like it looks like a griffin that is being attacked and eaten by a sea serpent. So it has the side almost like the old Stroh's cans, you know what I mean? And it's got like a griffin, the side profile, because, you know, my hand looks so much like a griffin right now. This is, see, this is how I make it talk. It's pretty good stuff. Here's the wing. Okay, but anyway, having fun with cameras. It's a trick. And you see a thing twisting around it. Almost resembles the snake in the pharmacy symbol, how it always twists around and comes up and bites. And it's coming around and biting it, and it looks like a basilisk or a serpent destroying a griffin. And that is done. I will make that in the colors of just black on white. Okay? You would take that to memory, and that would be something you would have to look into further, but that's what you see. Does that work for you? Okay. And it sounds cool. I'm sticking with that shit. Please, someone write that down so I don't forget it.
Got it in my notes because
Okay.
Old dude in the after action having got away. Rook's not chasing after him, but he's officially marked him for death.
Nice. Ooh, how menacing. Marked for death. Your DM should be afraid. All right, so moving on. It's all good. He's like, you take Rook seriously, damn it. You take him serious.
It may be a couple episodes from now. It could be 10 levels from now, one way or another. Oh, boy.
Right on. No, if you surprise me with killing him, that'd be fantastic. I love being surprised as much as anybody. So, with that, you're sitting there in just that moment of thought, and your chest is beating, and you're hurt to a certain degree, and you feel, you're wandering off. Your mind was dwelling on, what did I see? Right? And then in that moment, you feel and you see Mayasha walking up to you and starting to come into view. As if you were kind of waking from a dream and she's close to you. And I would like for you to roll just a basic charisma check. It's kind of a saving throw, but I just want a D20 plus your charisma bonus.
22.
What was it?
22.
Fuck's sake, level 3. Easy now.
19
Okay.
plus 3.
Goodness. When this happens, just a minute, I'm muting, I have a new candle. Gotta have a good smelling room when you're playing D&D. Oh, yeah, it's good stuff. Alright. Good stuff, man. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay. So, when she comes into view with a 22, this reminds you of, you instantly think about something that you remember your father talking to you about in this moment. Your father was of Aldros. He was a sailor. He was a bruiser, but he was a silent, quiet, soft-spoken man. And you can always remember him singing songs and humming in almost like a deep choir-like voice in different parts of the last years that you were around him or saw him. And your relationship with him was always one of, you had good times, there was tough times, he was hard on you, but he was always distant. He never played the role of father as warmly as this should be, mostly because of his upbringing, secondly because of your race. And you remember a particular moment when you finally asked him, where are these songs from? What are you singing about? And his answer stuck with you. And this moment makes you remember that, Rook. He looked to you, and with the closest thing that you can imagine to what would have been almost like a quaint smile that you've ever really seen him have, he looked to you in a deep, chesty tone and said to you, "One day you'll have your own song." And when you see her, it will right itself before your very eyes. I hope that for you. We deserve to be happy too. And he turned and he just began chanting and bellowing out this tune again.
Can you
And in that,
repeat that last sentence real quick? Sorry.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Could everyone else hear what I said? Okay.
Yeah, I had everything else up to that last sentence.
Okay. Which was the main dialogue of the sentence. Colby, were you able to hear it? And Bella, were you? Okay. So if I'm mistaken, I kind of made it up on the spot. He had that deep voice. Let me see if I can remember exactly what I said here, Jeremy. Hold on, because I was making it up.
When you see her, the song will write itself. We
Yes.
deserve to be happy too.
Something
Yes.
like that. Very good. Very good. Very good, man. But yeah, he's pretty much telling you in this deep, chesty voice, you know, it's like when you ask him where that song come from, he looks at you and says, you know, when you see her and you look into her eyes for the first time, the song will write itself for you. I hope that for you, son. We all deserve our own happiness. And as he tells you that, he just begins to hum, and he begins to hum and sing this song again as he turns and walks away from you. And it stuck with you. That was when you first really realized that your dad had a big heart, and as tough as a man as he was, it was okay to do that. When you look into the eyes of this tigress Philoday, as she is walking towards you in this moment, touching your chest and looking at you with deep concern, she is straight up beautiful, sir. I will make no mistake about it. Mayasha is ridiculously good looking. And what's crazy about it, in this moment, she's not trying to be flirtatious. She's not trying to be eccentric and dancing and things like this. You've seen that before. And that almost makes you kind of look away. You know, being on airships and seeing performances and stuff, you didn't care for the over-the-top, sappy kind of thing of that nature. That was people trying too hard to pull at heartstrings, and that's a weakness that Voldros can't tolerate, right? In this moment, with your good roll, you don't show your hand. You're hiding your cards real well, but just her touch on you. And her coming up to you and saying, you are hurt. I didn't ask for your help just now. God, why? I guess a thank you would be in order. And she's kind of taken off, and she has these scarves that are these sequence scarves of light pinks and sea greens and violet and blue hues that have silver tinges to them. And she takes some of them out and she starts wrapping them around, and she whispers to herself. She closes her eyes and goes, can we do anything about this? I want you to roll me a perception check with disadvantage.
It's 10.
Okay, with a 10, that's perfect. 'Cause that gives me just enough where you don't know what's going on. But it gives you something. It is almost like one of her scarves animates for a moment, and you would think, is she talking to this? Who's she talking to? And as one of the scarves wraps across and lays upon you, you feel healing. And the scarf wraps around your arm and around your chest in this way where it is animated, but it still looks just like a scarf, like a sheer one, like she would use in her dances and her performances, right, Rook? Okay? And you heal for 16 points of healing. Okay? Now, to create a scene, I want to freeze that for a moment because I think this would be really cool. Now, Azara, you had mentioned something earlier where you wanted to see how hurt Rook was, right? Can you tell me what the now disguised version of your character is doing? And I will say that you see this scene from a distance as you have gotten away and you are starting to hide. And then as you're walking, just for theater, just I'm kind of help this story along just a touch based on what we were talking about. You happen to look over your shoulder, you're like, he got hurt. And he was being nice to me. And as you look over your shoulder and you try to pick him out because your family's the most important thing. Their safety. You have this lump in your throat now based on the things you've seen. And as you look over, you see him, you see some drops of blood on the stone and on the rugs and stuff laying around him. And you're like, oh, what is it you're doing in that moment when you see him with some blood spattering down and standing there kind of like he's lost in thought? You are muted.
Yeah, so something that I was sort of laughing to myself a little bit during this beautiful scene between him and
It's neat
Miyasha,
stuff, right? Yeah.
because from what I was thinking is like, he sees her and it's just this beautiful connection and interaction, and then about like 2 seconds later, like just a touch on the shoulder, excuse me. Like the older man just wandering up like, excuse me, young man. Like totally interrupting and killing this like little connection. It's like, wow, there's a moment happening here. And then he just, pardon me, sir. But I forget how I did the old man's voice.
No, dude, it's all good. Is that what you do? Is you walk up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. She's
Fucking A,
busting.
that's cool. I wasn't sure how this will go. That's fantastic.
Just like
'cause
literally music swelling, just like romantic, and then like record scratch of like
the scratch needle. That's great. So with that, let's give Rook a chance to react to all this. You're like in the Wayne's World, Wayne's looking up at that guitar and it's like Dreamweaver, and then all of a sudden, excuse me. So Rook, react to this situation. You found yourself thrust in. She is talking to you. You fascinated with her. The moment of remembering your father said, "When you see the eyes, it'll write itself, buddy." You feel this, whoo, and then go ahead, play through the scene. I'll leave you guys to it. I'll be Miyasha, you be Rook, you be Azara. Let's just play through this shit.
I think he would be admiring the skill that she has over the raps that she has, and kind of watching how all that works.
Yeah.
He's already got somewhat of a fascination with magic as it is. So seeing how other people weave it it's like a stamp collector for him. It's just one of those things he adores it. And all he can do is, as he's watching her do this, he's just lost in it. He feels that tap on his shoulder. Says, "Oi, who are you?"
Well, I believe we passed briefly. Like I happened to just squeeze on by. How are you? Like you were facing that large brute. How are you feeling?
Roll a deception check with advantage.
Me.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's see.
Oh wait, I recall you. I was guarding the wall for Miss back there, and then you come trotting out.
So you said with advantage.
With advantage, absolutely.
So she rolled, the higher one was a 15. And then that is charisma, so +3, so 18 +1 with the skill.
Nice.
So 19?
19. Jeremy, if you want to roll...
Oh, or proficiency bonus, right?
Yeah,
Charisma
absolutely.
dex, so that is... wait, is that a 21?
I think so.
Alright, 21.
Yeah, that's 2 more, yeah. Do a, what is it, insight versus deception, Jeremy? Roll that with disadvantage.
Oh, that was terrible. Either way, that was an 8, a 2.
That'll work.
That was 7.
This is a very fascinating old man. Please continue.
Me?
Either one of you. It's all good, yeah.
Right. Well, yes. I just happened to squeeze on by, and you're the girl. She was able to. I interacted with her later on. I happened to pass her, and she said I had a friend back there. But I think I can assist you in some way. But first of all, like, how are you feeling? And then I think he's like poking and prodding around, being like, yes, like scoping out, being like searching out wounds.
You see him look back at Miyasha. Well, surprisingly enough, I feel much better.
She looks embarrassed by her moment of weakness in seeing your heroism in that moment. And she looks down. And as she takes the sea green and silver sparkled scarf off of you, it seems to almost wrap itself around her arm naturally, as if she's moving her arm through it, but it seems to wrap and coil itself around her arm and stuff of its own, free will. And she looks back up at you, and you can see a metamorphosis change in her as she gets into character. You can identify it because that look of honest, oh my goodness, are you okay? You can see her eyes dim a little bit, and you can see her grin go up a little bit, and you can see her posture kind of shift. You understand what I'm saying? And she looks around, and she says to you, she comes in close, and she whispers in your ear. She goes, I don't say this to very many people, but I owe you. Just you. Come by the Endless Satyr some afternoon this week. Drinks on me. And she backs away from you, and she's grinning as she's pointing at you. And then she grabs one of her chakrams and begins to start a dance. And she says, where exactly does everybody think they're going? I wasn't finished. And some people start stopping, and you hear conversations, and she begins dancing again and continuing unscathed. Because normally, the shit she just went through is a show ender. Not for Miyasha. And just for the hell of it.
How tall is she, by the way?
I think she is 5'5".
Because something of the old man is still standing next to both of them.
Yeah.
So just height-wise, it's this big, tall Brooke, her, and then Azara, I think probably at like 5'1" or something, and just awkwardly just standing right next to both of them. I was giggling to myself a little bit.
It's all good. It's all good. Were you, and I'm more than welcome if you were casting a spell or doing anything else as you were observing him or touching on, poking and prodding on Rook. You two go ahead and act out the scene however you want to do this and tell me what you need from me. So, as you're doing that, Rook has told you said, oddly enough, I seem to be okay, correct? Okay, hey, don't slam that door a lot, be cool. Okay. Alright, with that, are you casting any kind of spell in particular, Bella, or what are you doing?
She would probably pinch at any spots of clothes that had gotten cut or torn and doing the cantrip mending. As she's like poking and prodding, just like the little oh, look at what happened here type thing, and then
Outstanding. Describe to Jeremy what that looks like, and Rook react to that. That's really cool.
does he even notice it? Because this is I think that
You know what? With that, he's totally convinced in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You have been an old man. You have lived here your entire life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But With that, I would want you to do an Arcana check with disadvantage, Rook, because you are still somewhat. Well, no, just straight. Because I would say you were enamored with Miasha, but you rolled a 22 on your charisma score, which means you're as cold as ice, right? So, do the straight roll, Arcana check, to see if you recognize that you are being mended, sir.
Well, so here's the funny thing. I was sitting there thinking, like, I probably would be pretty distracted because even if not by her, I know the thing that she kept her coins in was crushed. So I'd be looking around for just an errant pot or something laying somewhere that I could replace it with. And then even with the disadvantage, I still rolled a 16.
Damn.
Goes back to his emphasis on loving magic.
Okay. Are you, Azara, trying to be sneaky with the casting of this?
Um, maybe subtle enough so then onlookers don't know what's going on, but I don't think she really cares if he sees.
I'll let you choose. I would go with sleight of hand.
Okay.
If that's what you want to do, go ahead, and we'll see if you roll higher than a 16, then he doesn't notice what you're doing.
And then also, depending on how it. Actually, I think either way should. Well, let me roll first. You said sleight of hand?
I think so. I think that works, unless you can talk me out of it into something better.
Nah. Sleight of hand works. Oh, and mentally I changed his position because, like, initially I had it like the two of them facing each other and this little old man, like, awkwardly standing right next to them, facing them, like, almost like a T. But I
Yeah.
think most likely he was behind Rook, like, doing the little pinching thing.
Right on.
I rolled a 19. That's dexterity, so that's +3 with proficiency +2. Am I doing that
Jeremy?
math right?
Rook is clueless, sir.
So, did Rook pick up the thing that got crushed? Or broken a little bit?
Do you want to say he did just for the hell of it? Jeremy, what do you think?
I was gonna say it just depends on how bad it was. I'd say that big heaping foot probably ruined
It
it.
crushed it pretty good because it was a glass urn. It was based on, I Dream of Genie, kind of a nice glass thing. So when he crushed it, the metal and the weaving around it would have kept it in some kind of form, but there would be pieces of broken glass that had fallen out of this.
Does
But I can
mending
see
work
you
on
have it in
that?
your hands if you want, like in the middle of prodding. If you want this for effect, I'm cool with you having picked that up and looking at it in this moment. If you got
Or
okay with it.
Because that's why he would try if he could try to fix it or try to. He wants to replace it, more or less. He wants to make sure that she's still got something that they can throw coins into.
is the break larger than 1 foot in any dimension?
Absolutely not, because this thing is only. Yeah, it's you're good. No,
Because I was about to say she could do her little like Saturn rotation, like little moon around the Earth, little rotation around Rook, doing the little pinching, mending. And if she can apply that mending to that little vessel, she would snatch it right out of his hands and be like, "Oh wow, look at this," type thing, and shift it around a little bit.
just go ahead. What do you think? Go ahead, Brooke. What are we doing?
He'd be looking at it, kind of see what he could do with it, maybe replace it, and then she just takes it out of his hands. Wait, hey, what?
Well, I'm trying to think. With sleight of hand, does that her good score also apply over to this? Meaning of the mending applying to this object.
Here's the thing.
Hmm. Do I need
I
to
don't.
roll
I don't want to
something else?
overroll this because we've had several rolls to kind of create that dynamic, and we've got to understand that he's fooled by you and fooled by your sleight of hand, your trickery here. If you're trying to make this pull off like some kind of miraculous, like all of a sudden you've grabbed the urn, you spin around and go to hand it back to him, and it's in one piece, I would have you do another check. But if you're just kind of, if that's what you're going for, yeah, I'm going to have one more check because you've already fixed his clothes and done that and circled him. But this is another attempt at a different item. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you're trying to be secretive, yeah.
I guess not necessarily secretive, but smooth to kind of not do too many red flags. So would I roll?
Smooth magical.
Is that sleight of hand again?
Absolutely, it is.
See.
And that's the name of the episode.
It's a sleight of hand. That is a 17 plus dexterity 3 plus the proficiency 2, so 22.
22. Jeremy, I mean, dude, you are being. She's going to bedazzle you if you're not careful. It's getting real. Rook, and it's so funny because he's this kind of stoic, kind of dark character, and you're catching him in this strange moment. So don't lose focus of that because this is a very interesting kind of. It's the kind of shit Merc goes through in your game all the time. Okay, so embrace this, sir. Go ahead, Rook. What's going on? You want to roll a check?
No, it's just gonna be a whole lot of different. What are you doing with that?
Oh, it's just, I think, look, it's just a trick of the light. And I think as she's turning, it's like the cast mending. So then, like, it's kind of behind her back that she's doing it. Oh, just a trick of the light. And, yes, there we go. Not too bad. The big old silly, whatever the hell. He's clumsy, but not that clumsy. And, his foot, I think, just lightly grazed it, and it's not that bad at all. So I'm gonna return this, and then like he toddles kind of over to place it where it was by Miyasha, but also not letting Rook linger too closely on it, just to be like, oh yeah, no, oh look, it's not that bad, la la la.
Okay. You place it back down on the ground then, correct? Or do you give
So
it
where
back
she
to
had
Rook?
it originally, yeah.
Okay.
To where Miyasha had it originally.
You look over at that thing, and I can't help but tell you, Rook, that it was broken and now it's not. You do with that what you want.
It's gonna be.
You don't know how, but there's something's up.
Yeah, he's gonna kind of give the old man a look and just. I said no. Then he's gonna walk over. He's gonna give another back glance at the old man before looking back over at Miyasha and her performance. And he's gonna actually put a couple of gold coins into it as he scoops up any coins that spilled out, throwing them in there as well.
Awesome. Okay. Roll me whatever you want to roll to see how many coins you're able to collect and put back in there, just to see how well you do with this.
I would actually like to attempt to kind of hide the two, just kind of like a nonchalant, like, oh, here's these coins that were dropped out of it, and yeah, kind of do that.
Go ahead.
Oh, anything, sleight of hand or perception to see if I can get all the coins, or rather, investigation.
Sure. Whatever you tell me what and why. It's that kind of game, Jeremy. It's that kind of game. You tell me what and why, sir, and I'll let you roll it.
I'll do investigation, and it's just going to be a whole lot of. I'm looking around, just kind of in the immediate areas, to make sure in the commotion that none got kicked elsewhere or anything like that.
Okay.
And I wound up rolling an 18.
Go ahead and roll. What'd you get?
18.
18. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm distracted. I apologize. There's stuff going on in the background. So, okay. With that, you pull that off fairly well. I think you get the effect that you were looking for, as Miyasha seems to be none the wiser as she is in the midst of trying to get this crowd's attention and really putting into the performance, which showed earlier she rolled a natural 19. So when she gets back into this, she's really trying to bring that crowd back in.
My sleight of hand was 19 to be able to pull the coins out of my pocket without really being noticed.
Nice. Good deal.
But the thing is he's familiar with folks like her. So he's assuming that she's counted every coin that's gone into that thing. So when she goes to count it later, she's going to realize there's a few extra.
That's interesting. So it's almost like, when you steal a little liquor out of your dad's liquor cabinet and you're like, dude, he's going to know it's watered down. He's going to know. You got that gut feeling inside, right? I get you, man. I get you. Goodness. Okay, so with that, let's move forward and decide where you guys are going from there. So, Azara, what is your goal now? Where are you headed? What are you doing? Are you staying in disguise? Are you creating space? Are you keeping an eye on Rook? Or are you just twiddling your thumbs? What is it you're doing now?
Yeah, so when I was doing the sleight of hand, to be honest, I think she knows that her gig with Rook is partially up in the sense of she is a very unique old man in all of her interactions with him, and she knows likely he'll fade at one point, but at least to the onlookers, to anybody who I think saw her, doing the like I don't think anybody would have picked up on the mending with her sleight of hand stuff. So in
Yeah.
her eyes, like, at least for now, her cover is not blown. People just think she's an eccentric old man. And
Yeah.
then I think she was like, I think I can help you with your meeting. If you can just follow me and I can take you on the way. And it's very important stuff that I'm sure. And I think like the kind of he's gonna try to corral Rook over to join her into going towards her family.
Do you do
Um,
anything or say any kind of phrase that may clue him in as to who you truly are and that you're trying to keep this guy's up? Or are you saying any kind of clever thing that may help him connect the dots without exposing your true self to those that might be watching?
so I think that she's not saying anything too overt, but the fact that this random man is talking about this meeting that he knows that Rook needs to go to,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of those like little bit of allusions to like he knows some part of the context of the previous conversations and interactions with Azara.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's enough where it's like,
Jeremy, I'll let you do this. You've rolled a lot of dice. What do you think Rook would think here? If you want to roll a dice to see if you're picking up what he, she, it, or whatever is putting down, I'm fine with that. But you tell me. Because
Brooks,
this person is talking about a meeting.
he's sharp of mind
Yeah.
and he's brutish in thought,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know honestly that he would pick up on clues.
I
So
was kind of worried about that without her saying something a little bit more like, hey, psst, you know.
I think
either way, he's going to be doing what he can to go that direction. So this person's like, "Oh, I happen to know where you're headed," without saying that they know where I'm headed. Like I can almost imagine it being a whole lot of, "Oh, did you hear about the circus that's coming to town?
Yeah, right, I get it. Yeah.
I happen to know where that's at. I'm good friends with the people running it."
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if she would say that.
That's what I'm
Honestly.
saying. She's not being that overt about it.
But
So
Right.
if
I'm
as,
trying.
as comforting as that would be in this moment, it would help this out.
How
That's not
opposed
happening.
would yeah? How opposed would Rook be to being directed by this old man?
Well, despite the trickery, he is enamored by the fact that the container was broken and now it is not. So he's already clued into the fact that, okay, old man knows some magic. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's 100% trusting, but he has no reason to believe that the old man's going to run him off a cliff.
And
Because
remember,
I think like almost like corralling a cat. I think like it's gonna be a whole lot of gentle nudges of like, oh come this way, oh scoot this way, like oh let's go through here, like sort of navigating Rook through, and if he's like acceptable to that and wouldn't be like get the hell off me old man type thing, then it's probably a lot of subtle scooting, being like let's go this direction.
I don't think he would object to it too much, and it would probably be helpful considering as he's moving through, he's keeping an eye out for that banner.
for who?
Oh, the
For the
banner.
banner, the white banner with the griffin and the serpent.
So
Okay.
is he sort of mentally occupied by the griffin type banner so then this old man can just sort of shuffle him
More
along
or
as
less.
he's
That's kind of the thing of it. It's gonna be a whole lot of he's walking in that direction, but he's getting his eyes caught on different things. And you're like, oh no, this way, this way.
yeah, he's just so the old man is suddenly like almost like nudging a boat down a stream of like, all right, do a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, oh, a little bit this way.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that being a thing.
Brian, what about you?
Okay. Okay. That all works. Because well it has to. It's what you're doing, right? So it's all good. So as you're doing this, let's talk about some things you encounter along the way. okay, or the lack thereof, or the plethora of, however this works out, okay. So I need you to do me perception checks, high numbers, Jeremy, to see a banner that matches what you saw there. Roll me a perception check, and let me know what you see.
By the way, also
Oh.
as they're leaving, the old man absolutely does a I'm sure you'll see that nice dancer girl again. Like a massive
And a
wink
wink.
of like
Yeah, yeah.
That would be the moment Rook starts waving it off. Like, it's just she does the dancer.
I
As
think
Rook would.
dances are pretty cool, but you know.
The old man's like, "What's wrong with dancers, you bastard?"
So
I get it.
as a nat 20 for a 25 for perception.
You fuck! I swear, we're never gonna get anywhere. You keep rolling 20s. You see everything. Everything.
Well, he's a
Okay.
perceptive individual.
It's like Danny and his goddamn. I can read everything. It's like, kiss my ass. Right? I don't have dialogue for everything, so whatever. So as you are all seeing and all knowing, except for the old person that you're following for some reason,
Yeah, weird,
What-
right?
yeah, it makes perfect sense. So I'm going to say, I mean 20. I mean, wow, right? As you're going around, I'll just make it up because that's what this game's about. Remember, I told you that there were different balconies that were on the inside of this of Skywell. Okay, and there were very few that faced outside, that open up to the mountainside and stuff like that, where you can see Skywatch above and you can see New Gemdar and the 3 layers therein below. Okay, so this is on one of the inner ones. And remember, when I first described this place, there were banners that were hanging out in different balconies, almost like if you go to a military museum or naval museum, and there's banners that represent all the different people and things that have went on there and the missions that were accomplished. It's this big, robust kind of showing. This place is no different. And a lot of these banners are used to flock people in to get jobs in those on those particular ships and things of that nature. And you do see a white banner. Okay, now here's when you see the full banner with a natural 20, here's some things you didn't see about it. Okay, the banner is long and it is white, and it shows a Leviathan-like creature coming up what is like a makeshift artistic impression of the ocean waves. And it curls up around the griffin, and it's getting ready to come down and bite it. And the bottom of the banner looks like claw marks have went through it in black, like graphics. Like a bite or claw marks or something has tore at it. And the name that seems to be associated with it, and I was thinking about this briefly in the back of my head. I want to be something that has to do with it's called The Date with Destiny, and that is the name of the actual banner. And it seems to be some kind of morbid play on the fact that there was something there that met its fate on the waters and oceans. Okay? Although something was flying above, something from below was able to, and it's called A Date with Destiny. And that is the name of the actual airship banner. Okay, so you want to take a note of that. And as you see a booth that is sitting there, the booth itself that has had people lined up and has had people signing up and things of that nature seems to be vacant currently. There's a large wooden table there, several different contracts and things still haven't been collected. Some ledgers are still there and things like this, and you see a note that seems to be laid out there as this person is away from the desk currently. Would you like to investigate further? Or, okay. As you do, you would notice that in your haste to move on to this, you are in a very convincing guise, Azara, and you see him focusing and looking. You notice Rook looking at this long banner, and he walks over and goes to this particular sign-up table. Okay? If you want to interject if any of this at any moment, feel free to. Just let me know, okay? As you walk over there, there is a note. And it talks about, it has almost like a dark humor. If it says if desperation has brought you this far, then obviously you know the dangers of what you're about to sign. Is what this note left on there is. It's like we are the crew of the date with destiny. Okay? And we pride ourselves on let's see how I want to word this. Pride ourselves on taking on the responsibility of jobs in dark waters that others wouldn't dare set out with. Okay? It says, if you are faint of heart, or if you have a heavy moral burden, our date with destiny very well may not include you. But if you are living for the moment, and coin today is better than coin tomorrow, sign below and join us on our date with destiny. Okay? And you see some interesting names of just random folks in there. You don't see any name particularly that jumps out at you. But there are, the one thing with the 20 you will notice is that some of these people can't write the best that have signed this particular ledger to join onto this crew. But something about it, in this moment, and I'm just doing this for a little character building for you, Jeremy, you had a moment of weakness a minute ago when you looked into the Azamashia. Miyasha. And you know how a guy he'll rebound by being like, let's watch some football. Yeah, oh, I'm over that shit. This could very well be that moment for you if you choose to let it be. You would be tempted because of that rebound nature that silent, tough guys have. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not trying to overstep and be in your mind. I'm giving you a side thought. Okay? So with that, my hands are off of it. I've created the ship. I've created the ledger. I'm creating more shit as I'm going. All improvised. What do you do, sir?
Is there an indication of the next voyage?
Yes. And now we're going to let the dice decide. 5 days from now, you'll want to write this down. The date with destiny will open up its sails again and travel. And this will be a airship mission to get there to pick up supplies that are unnamed intentionally on this thing. And that will be a water trip on the return because of the type of cargo and the actual weight that will be involved. That the airship wouldn't be able to sustain without it. Okay? And it talks about we are currently trying to raise funds to get one of our founding members out of a legal situation. And this is the thing, this is the contract they pretty much need to get the ship back on track. So this is almost like a pretty daring mission, but the coin is good enough to help bring the crew and all them back together. As the first mate, it would seem in this ledger, is the acting captain currently, as the original captain seems to be in some kind of trouble.
Brooks won't sign it.
Sign that shit, sir. You have anything to say to this, Azara, as he seems to look over a ledger, look firmly at it, think on it for a long second, and signs his name on something?
I think she probably has a little bit of relief, but she's not going to say anything about it in the sense of like, okay, so my interactions of this guy, it's going to be short. He'll like come to the show, he'll do whatever we need to do, then he goes his way, I go my way, and then we don't have to worry about anything else in the middle. Like, there's that type of thing of like, there's part of her getting her a little bit of like that detachment of like, all right, cool. It's not like, he is going to be added to the list of people that she needs to run from or gets like brought up or whatever the case is. It's brief. But she may read over the thing and be like, well, that seems like sort of a bad deal.
I get it. That's cool. That's cool. Um, with that, you continue on.
Yeah, after signing it, I'll be moving back to the old man. Just my apologies.
Seems like you have exciting journeys ahead of you. Very good, very good. Anyway, so, this way. I believe this path is, and then he begins sort of like generally mumbling outwards, like just ramblings and directing towards where
Okay.
he needs to go.
All right. I'm going to say you guys get down to Skywell with no more incident because I'm tired of it. You've been here a long time. I'm going to be nice to you. You moved on. You are on the lower level. That's where this thing usually comes out at. And then you have to climb through the levels separately from the Skywell to get to different levels of the city. But the base level is where your caravan would be, where the large interior fields are kept, and where the ancient kind of the oldest parts of New Gemdar remain, where there seems to be the place that your father has told you about that exists here. It seems like the other ones haven't been here before, but in the telling, in the ride here, he has been here before. He's been here enough to know that this festival would be going on now, that this would be a very flooded and full place, somewhere that you guys could blend in, hopefully well enough. And as what was just 1 minute here?
Did they pass the one shop with the stone fox on the way down?
I can say that you did if you would like to. It's all good. Would you like to go revisit that place?
Oh, he's probably gonna do a quick drive-by leave a butterscotch candy for the fox, like if they pass it.
I will absolutely let that happen. And that was the Elven shop ran by I believe it was the Starvales. Or no, it was, I forget what their last name was. It was Iveron was one of them that you had met. And they work primarily in Elven craftsmanship in traditional wares and things of that nature. So if you are Elven or of Elven type and you wish to have an abode here or something, they can handcraft you things that will give you a taste of those faraway places. Okay. And that seemed to be a small, like, statuesque kind of odd creature that I don't think you actually saw it in its true form, but he kind of told you.
She never saw it move. I think it was they had the interaction, then she looked away, and then she looked back, then it had shifted, but it was like still a statue, if I recall the interaction.
Okay,
where she was talking with him, but she never saw it move, but she knows it does move. She knows that, like, oh, it maybe likes her a little bit. I don't think it would recognize the old man. But again, drive-by butterscotch candy.
Absolutely. And let's say, just for future reference, and take a note of this, please, that the elegant stairway that leads up to the front door of this establishment, the stairways looks like they are trees that are carved in stone that wrap and intertwine and make up the railings for the stairway that goes up. And the rocks themselves are very finely crafted of all different kinds of granite and marbles and things put together in a very elegant and elven way. And these trees that seem to make up the main railing have these flat spots where the railing post goes up that are made and looks like twirls of leaves, almost like a rosebud is a twirl of petals. That the main ball places where you saw that thing perched earlier are on these little handles of this railing that goes up to the shop. And that would be the place you would leave it lay, because that's where you saw it perched previously.
Oh, so it's not perching there now?
No, it is not.
Okay. All right.
But were you like to leave the candy in that same spot regardless?
Yes.
Outstanding.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yes. And you would look and roll a perception check, please.
Let's see. Perception would be... Okay, so that's a nat 1. No, I didn't add any modifiers, but I don't think I need to add any modifiers. So
Probably
I
not.
don't think. Probably not, no.
That would have been fun. I had something for you, but alas, ones suck. When you go back up to that place, there is no sign of the creature around. The only thing is, there's a little tuft of, and even with the one, this is going to be there because I'd hate for it not to be, because you're looking there, you'd notice. As you go to lay down the butterscotch, you would see where there is silver and red fur stuck to a sticky spot on top of this beautifully crafted marble, as if, you know how if you leave pancake syrup on a plate, it gets sticky? Like where something has ate this last butterscotch that was laying there, there's a sticky mess and it's got some hair that's been pulled off in it. And it is there in that spot, but there's no sign of the actual creature.
What was
Okay.
the name of the one guy that she talked to previously again?
I believe it was Iveron.
Everon.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, no, she's heading down this way.
Yeah, he was a, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he a fair, young, red-haired, Auroran elf, which is what we call the Sun Elves. He introduced you and told you this is a place where they do elven crafting. He would have been a young man, maybe 19 to 20.
Yeah, so around her age.
Yes. And he has magnificent, fiery red hair. Very upright, very well kempt individual. If I had to talk about an actor that would portray Iveron, I have a picture of him that I've put inside of things, but if I had to say, because he has kind of a longer neck, he kind of has a handsome look to him, but I would have to say, give me just 1 second here and I'll come up with something, because I see the picture I've got of him. I'm trying to think who would fit into that. Let's go with, and I hate to do this, what is the name of the actor that just did the most recent Batman? What's that character's name he played in Twilight and shit?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Edward Cullen.
Yeah. I'd say he really does. The features of that picture that I have of Iveron remind me of kind of that profile. He has that, he could be elven. He has this kind of stoic pointedness to him. So I would say that would be the basic look of Iveron.
That's incredible. As I think it's funny of I guess it's something's in the air in this episode, because Rook is having this magical one-on-one moment with Miyasha, and the way with Azara, with the more interactions I think she has with this character, she may begin to build up in that direction. It's almost like a video game. It's based on their early interactions, it's plus 50 points to this, and it's inching in that direction.
Yeah.
But I think it's hilarious that it's Edward Cullen, because in my teenage years, those movies were a foundational part of birthday
That's awesome.
parties and shit.
Hey,
So
I'm here to make fantasies realities, buddy. It's all good. That's outstanding.
I just think it's all right. Anyway, I'll probably
And elves do not sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, none of that shit.
They just
Okay.
glimmer in the sunlight.
No, not even close. Okay. So, moving on from that, are you seeking to see if you, well, for one, no, you don't notice even if he was there.
Mm-mm.
So, let's go ahead and take that one on this opportunity, since you're on the lower level. Let's see if we can make Colby's character literally run right the fuck into you guys. Let's try to do this. Let's try to bulldoze this together. I am going to use some D&D magic and try to make this as non-sappy as possible. So, Arsin. Do you remember if Yakon Ru, he only guided you so far down the stairway, and once you got to that one level, and you had that interaction and stuff, and he kind of tried to bring you back, I remember he had some words of wisdom for you. When you had that kind of shift and that gauntlet of some kind of dark phantasmal armor seemed to come through on your arm when you had a triggered moment, right? It's neat. This is almost like a Draken with some kind of necrotic PTSD. It's very interesting. I'm going to say at that point, when you continued on down the stairway from that moment on, he left and made his way slowly back up the stairs to the place. He probably walked halfway down with you, and you would hear the light charms and different wind chime like stuff that he has on him, and the tambourine cymbals in his staff chiming as he would make his way back up the stairway as you would continue descending down to the bottom of the city. So I want to get inside your mind here a little bit so I can kind of guide you and direct you. Okay? Now, you right off have no real memory of this place. Okay? And when you go down to the bottom of the stairway that opens up into the city, I'm going to paint you a picture. Let's describe to you what this looks like, okay?
All right.
So, as you've heard me tell folks many, many different times, New Gemdar right now is in this perpetual state of celebration. You're not sure exactly why. But, I mean, it is a busy freaking place. Like, I'd say at least a good 45 minutes before you got to the bottom of the stairway, the sounds from the lower part of the city started to come up through the clouds, and you heard this stuff, and it would have rose a little bit of odd and curious excitement about you, but also a little bit of nervousness. You know about your history. You know about the Draken. You know what you were created for and who you came from and why you were given life. And you also know that that's not your mission. Just one moment, I'm sorry. Okay, back, sorry. So in that moment, and do you, Colby, know about the Draken, their creation, and what they were bred for and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I don't have to reiterate. That's important. Okay, so as you take a deep breath and get ready to get down to the bottom of the steps to actually deal with people for the first time in recent memory, here's some things I'm going to give you to kind of bite on. Okay, you remember the face of this Sylvanus wood elf kind of thing. By the way, wood elves and the veiled elves and things like that are called Sylvanus. That's not a copy off anything. Silva, S-I-L-V-A, is an ancient word that talks about forest and trees and things like that. I took some Elvish language and bits and pieces of things that meant different things. And the Sylvanus, with a S-Y-L-V-A-N-U-S, is the word we give for the kind of what our version of forest elves are here in Ulran. Okay? So this beautiful auburn-haired Sylvanus elf that had magical abilities of healing. And this dark, heroic but kind of dark soul kind of centurion rider are two people that you know in your memory. That would be something to fish for. Okay?
Mm.
And you also know that Tanima said, go down here and live your life and explore and decide if you want to come back. So at this point, you need to decide where you want to go to have a peaceful thought. And what do you want to experience? Are we talking about a tavern? Are we talking about going to see something entertaining? Are we talking about going to a church? Are we talking about a certain particular shop? Maybe going somewhere and getting a bite? You know, where do you want to start this kind of, Axon's weekend off kind of thing? As you walk down, you see the potential for all of these things. As one of the main things on this lower level that you see is the Colosseum, or the Falcon's Nest. Okay? And it is very large, and on this whole lower layer of the city, there are many different tall statues depicting former champions that seem to line these major hallways. You can see it as soon as you come in from where the main gates would be. And there's like 3 main gates. They're huge in this place. The imagery of falcons and shields is huge here. There are depictions of art and stuff where it's humans fighting titans and giants. And it seems to be, this place is like, seems like a very heroic place. and you do know legends about the mortals of Gemdar standing against the scorned giants of old. But you're here now. You're almost, it's almost going to like Camelot from a storybook. You know what I mean? It has that kind of feel for Arsin. All kinds of different festival like type shit going on. There's a place over there where there's several different logs and there's dwarves shouting out loud and having axe throwing competitions right on the side of the freaking street, which seems ridiculously dangerous, but I said it, so I'm fucking going with it. You've got all kinds of fun things going on. One particular thing you notice is a large golem construct. It looks like it's made of woods and armored plates, or like wood beams and armored plates, and it seems to be controlled by levers and shit. Okay? And it seems to be this big, like, it's almost like, how can I describe this? It's made to be like a large giant-like creature. Right? And there's this guy, this old mystic knight kind of guy with long silver hair that has a big long crown of silver, almost looks like a ring on his head. And he's directing people on, come, test your worth against a true opponent if you dare. And he's having people trying to hit different parts on this for points. It's like some kind of Dangerous Warriors game. And as he has different people working for him that are pulling levers, it's like old school theater shit. The large wooden construct arms of this thing will swing down, and it will swing down with this big mallet and shit like this, and the head will turn with these horns on the sides of it. And it's almost like a D&D bull ride, if you will, okay? It has that kind of feel. And there's something like that down here, which has quite a bit of attention. And then you have all these amazing fountains, where groups of intellectual people seem to be sitting there and smoking on pipes and drinking in the streets calmly, as guards that have the silvered wings and the falcon-shaped helmets that come over their eyes and the black and gold banners that they wear and long cloaks seem to patrol the streets. It is festive, but it is civil. What exactly would you be looking for here, sir?
I think Arsin would like try to get his mind off, so he would go to do something fun. Yeah.
Okay. So, with that, something fun. I can work with that. As you look around, roll a perception check.
Ready?
What'd you get?
I'm working on it.
Work on it faster.
I am trying, okay?
My God, hey, it's a D&D game. If you don't have your dice ready, goodness gracious, Colby.
No, I have my dice ready. It's just all the other stuff that I need to add to it. It wasn't ready. It wasn't
if
fully
you
ready.
have your dice ready, then why don't I have an answer already? That's what I'm asking.
Can't do quick math right now.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
18.
You probably just have anesthesia. I mean, I would just try to focus on it and see. Dude, I am never letting you live that shit down. I'm sorry.
I got an 18.
I'm 18. Nicely done, sir. Good deal. So, God, I'm terrible. So, with an 18, you hear a roll of laughter. Ironically. And as you look around, you see a building, and a lot of the blocks and things of this are almost, it's not like strip malls, but it's buildings that are very close together, created in lines and patterns at different levels. So like, for instance, when they were walking by that Iveron's shop of elven rarities and crafts, it was in one building, and then with a small alley, sometimes none, maybe sharing the same roof, there would be another building beside it, another building, and things like that. So it's not like this place has structure to a degree, but it has variants in it as well. So, as you're, just a second. Okay, so as you're going through and you're seeing all these things, you see one particular thing, and it catches your eye, and you're taken by it. You see a building where there seems to be a line of people going in, and several, 2 or 3 people coming out. And when they come out, there was a group of people that were laughing heartily as they left this place. And as you look up and see the sign above the door, it says the words, "The Endless Satyr." Okay? And what's funny about it, on the sign to the side, looks like an actual satyr that is smiling and jumping up and clicking its heels with an ale in its hand. Okay? And you don't know if this is just some kind of play on words, but you hear laughter and stuff and different waves of it coming from this place. And this place is made to look somewhat fantasy styled, but ancient theater styled. As there are, it has a very Renaissance kind of feel to it. It seems to be ancient Greek, but ancient theater at the same time as the styling of this particular building. That would draw your interest in that moment of thought.
All right.
Would you be headed to that, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, because you don't have to be. That's just, that was where you were thinking. I gave you some laughter. Is there something else you'd like to look for, or are you good with that one?
Yeah, I'll be fine with that one.
Okay, good. Hey, I'm glad I could help. So,
He needs a good laugh at this point.
I think so. Oh God, here we go. So you...
I hear laughing helps the anesthesia wear off.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's good for the soul, right? So, what's great about that is Bella's not using that character right now. So as we're making jokes and stuff, I'm looking at this old man just staring at me like, what? It's fantastic. So, as you head that direction, when you go up and you get in line, you see people that seem a little bit nervous. And you are a tall, big individual anyway that has like a dark kind of colored scales. Remember how we talked about the Draken are all a green and sandy kind of different hues and stuff, but you have hints of the kind of dragon that you are. Even more so because of what you're going through temporarily, you do have a darker hue to you. You do have a darker presence to you, as if you've been kind of hollowed out and cursed in some way. So you would be, if a person were to be sitting beside you, you would raise a bit of concern in them just because of your demeanor and what looks like you've been through. Okay? I mean, that's fair. And you are wearing a very humble amount of stuff that looks like, monk in training kind of garb and things of that nature. And if you ever need to get more into it, we can discuss that or something. Okay?
All right.
Do you have weapons or anything like that you're carrying with you at this time?
I have it down as a short sword.
Okay, did you want to leave that back at the temple to retrieve later in the place where you woke up, or do you want to say that's with you?
I would say he would have grabbed that, especially if he's in an area he is unknown, that is unknown to him.
Okay. And as far as your gear and equipment, like a pack or things of that nature, do you have like an over-the-shoulder bag like a military person would have? Or do you have like a belt that has a satchel on the side of it? Or what kind of other stuff do you have to hold your gear? Because I normally don't get into that majorly, but if there's something unique about it, I'd like to know before I move you in here.
I would say it would be a belt. And a belt with a satchel.
Okay. So, as you're going up through here, when you go inside this place, it's a touch dark. There's the smells of all kinds of very different interesting smokes and candles and fragrances that kind of hit you in the face when you go into this place. And there's a large stage that has what looks like to be antique-like props that are set up in a way to be displayed to create atmosphere in this place. There's a long wraparound bar at the far side of this room, and this place seems to have 2 different main floors to it and a big open area in the front. It is done very Renaissance style, with like Greek pillars inside of it with torches that burn for theater and ambience and things of that nature. And it has a wood thatched ceiling way up in the top, or it's not thatched, the archway, vaulted in the top of this place, with a lot of different stonework. There are gargoyle depictions, but the gargoyles are covering their faces and smiling like they're laughing on different parts of the walls. And you see a thri-kreen, which looks like a praying mantis man, okay, that is up on stage. And they have sometimes, well, most times, 4 appendages, 2 main arms and 2 other smaller arms. And it is juggling up on stage in front of everybody as it wanders and wobbles back and forth, and it has some kind of shawl wrapped around it, which makes it look like kind of like a swashbuckler. And this thri-kreen's antennas are kind of back, and its bug eyes and its head's kind of going around, and it's chattering and saying something in thri-kreen, and you can't understand a word of it. It sounds like absolute gibberish, like cricket, like clicking and shit like that. And sadly enough, or comically enough, there seems to be a gnome standing beside him, standing on top of a pedestal, dressed in a tuxedo, with its hand out like this. And it is saying some of the funniest shit you've ever seen. Okay? It is saying the inner thoughts. It is being an interpreter for this thri-kreen character. Okay? It is talking and is saying some very, very funny things. For instance, he'd be like, notice how I'm able to do all these things and still have a conversation with you. It's the only way I can afford money to pay for this interpreter. So if you could laugh at this, I would simply appreciate it. And he's interpreting this through this person. It's a very funny setup. And the more that this gnome, with his hair all slicked back and speaking in this way, talks, the funnier it gets. And the thri-kreen is saying some extraordinarily introspective and clever things about the situation and things that he's doing. The crowd is going nuts over top of this. There are a lot of round tables that have to have 8 chair clusters that are watching, and there are waitresses bringing over drinks and bringing over foods, and you're smelling breads, and you're seeing carved meats, and you're seeing trays that seem to have all kinds of tomatoes and different kinds of vegetables on them, and this looks like a fun place to be. Okay? You can see just inside the door now, but the line does go in a little bit. You're still going to have to wait for about 4 or 5 people before you can go in here, as the line seems to have stopped because the tables are full currently. Okay? So in that moment, let's stop right there with you. Okay? The rest of you, as you get down to the lower level, okay, you do have to pass this particular place on your way to go to this large field-like area. Okay? So as you are doing that, and you went past the Iveron's elven, crafting and things of that nature, you guys hear this same similar burst of laughter. Okay? Jeremy, when you do, you look up, and Rook notices that the name of this place is called the Endless Satyr. That is the place that Miasha whispered in your ear up beforehand. Is that enough to draw your interest to want to go in there now? Do you mention that to her on the way, or are you continuing through to get back to the campsite currently?
What time of day is it?
Let's say
She specified an evening.
Okay, so right now It is about 4 o'clock p.m. there.
It's late enough in the day, and I'd say there's probably some foot traffic going in there for kind of the end of day folks right there.
Yeah, well, there's some, if you were to look at it and gauge it, there seems like people are starting to build up in there for something particularly. As there's bits and pieces of people that are your normal folks that are leaving, you've been in enough places. You've never been in like a comedy club, pray tell. And from looking at it, that's what this seems to be, is a D&D comedy club. Okay? But from the look of it, people are getting in there, getting ready for something that's going to go down soon. As very few people are leaving and more people are trying to get in and get a seat. That's what you're witnessing.
Yeah, given the time of day, I think he would be interested in going in there and trying to find a spot. He would communicate that with the old man and his entourage.
Okay. So still not quite understanding who the old man is. You do verbalize that. I want you to go ahead and have that conversation.
I appreciate you taking me as far as you have. I think I'm going to step in here for a time.
You you want to didn't you say you had to meet some people?
I do. But I don't foresee them leaving within the next few hours.
Well, I suppose. I think she probably like gives the directions of like, okay, go this way, that way, or that way. Because she's not staying
Right.
because she needs to convey the important message to her family.
Okay. So at that
Like
point,
she's not gonna fight him and be like, no, you can't.
right. So is it safe to say at this point that you go your separate way back towards them and Rook goes into this place to spend a little bit of time?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take our first break. Okay? I will deal with you going back and talking to them, Bella, when we return. And then I will work on the meeting of these two in the comedy club, the Endless Satyr, and see if I can work that in a way where these two join up. And then they come to meet you after encounter in here, and that will put the three of you together. Okay? And this would be a good place for me to cause some kind of crazy shit. I don't know what I want to come up with, but something. Now, honestly, I want you guys to understand, I'm just trying these things, but if it doesn't work, you don't want to bite on it, don't do it. You know what I mean? You're there, and I was, kind of playing off Colby's, what he said. And I was like, well, fuck, that's Endless Satire all day. You go by, and you happen to have heard this from Miyasha's voice to meet there later. It works good, story-wise. I like it. It doesn't feel forced, and that's what I'm going for. So, let me go ahead and get ready to pause this. We'll go on a break, and then when we come back, we will take care of said stuff and make sure I'm doing this right. And 3, 2, 1, pausing. Okay, we're back, man, from break. Good deal. Decided I was going to make this a Bud Light night because, yeah, I can do that. So, let's go ahead. I kind of want to give Bella, Azara, a moment first to get back in touch of her folks. Her family, so to speak. And then once I've got that established, I'll jump back to you guys in your interaction there. Is that okay with you all? Okay. We split the group, we do things, we enjoy each other's game. Here we go. Okay. So, having said that, now Bella, I know that these are characters that you've also created, but I also have dialogue for them as the DM, so when we get into this, if there's something I do that is majorly lore breaking or something like that, let me know. But at the same time, they are NPCs, and that's how I create the world, and that's how D&D works. So you can't know every damn thing. So, having said that, as I look into the earnest eyes of this old man in front of me, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. Uh, I'm gonna say with that moment when Rook goes over to the Endless Satyr and gets in line to enter into this place, there's a strange feeling that you have that you didn't expect. I would like for you to roll a charisma check. And let me know what you get. And I bet you do it faster than Colby. No pressure.
See, that is a. You said just plain charisma?
Yes, ma'am.
14 plus 3, 17.
17. You don't act on it. As a performer and an actress and a dancer, you have all kinds of deep emotions that you've learned how to tap into to bring a beauty and a realism to your performances that really feeds you. And with this sinister kind of character that you've ran into earlier, not certain of his motives, but you just know that the conversation was just so it was as close as you could be offensively in a conversation with just outwardly saying you're dead meat. You know, it was kind of like that, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Mm,
How did you feel about that conversation with that halfling?
it was uncomfortable for her. It was not necessarily like you're dead meat, but it was that subtle of I'm going to do something to
Okay,
you and your family.
okay, I get it. I get it.
Where it's like one thing would be like if they're like actively hostile, it's like okay, this person wants to hurt me. But there's that underlying of like they want to do something and it doesn't feel good, and that is kind of scary.
Okay, good deal. I'm glad, and that's why I want to. Yeah, I'm glad. Okay, that works. So when Rook walks away, there's an emptiness kind of feeling. You didn't expect it. You saw him stand up for someone he barely knew. You saw, I don't want to call it heroism. I don't want to get it over exaggerative about this, but um, you saw a good quality in this large, stoic mortal. And you didn't realize in the brief amount of time that you saw an escorting down here that you're not used to being set off on yourself. You're always used to being around your family or having somebody else around and always looking out over your shoulder and stuff like that. And you didn't realize in those very few, moments there, that time when you're with him, the comfort he provided you. And it's gone now. In a whim. Just over. And it always makes this overwhelming sense. It's like, oh, I really need to get back to them now. A significant piece of my cover could be gone. That is something I want to throw at you and do with that what you will. Okay? So, having said all those things, work off that. And where are you going next and what are you doing?
So she is immediately kind of shifted. She is kind of running over, moving quickly to the best of her ability. I'm just adjusting real quick, so I apologize if his face gets funky.
Don't apologize. You're
Um,
fine. It's all good.
um, yeah. So she's like kind of getting over there as quickly as she can, and I don't think. I think probably this is a face either her family has seen before, so they can recognize that it is her, or she has some sort of code that she kind of says quickly that they're able to be like, oh, it's her. Actually, no. I'm gonna go with they've seen this face before in some capacity.
Okay, I'll allow it. That's cool. That's perfect lore. It makes sense that you would go to something you know as an actor, actress. You've performed different things. Oh, also, side note, make an extra face too for something else maybe you've done in the past. That way, if the next game happens and you need to jump into something quick, you've got it on hand. Okay.
Actually, it's funny of like so something new that's being added to the Tales of Ulran is the little thanks page, the thank you page, and in that there are kind of the programs that I use, and the one program Art Breeder, thankfully I could generate faces like pretty quickly.
That's awesome.
And then combining that with the expression camera, like I literally can have access to a lot of different faces fairly quickly.
That's cool. I
Um,
didn't realize how fast that was. That's cool, man.
yeah. No, it's like it's a matter of you make the face an art breeder, which it's like it's a lot of cool options and you can modify it. Then you take out the background, then you drop it in this camera, and then you get like I think this old man face took like 5 minutes. But
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool, dude.
yeah, so like in terms of I imagine they've seen many, many people. Like they have encountered many patrons, they've encountered maybe a lot of things, but like she will choose people who like either they had like an interaction with like maybe this old man was like heckling their show one time and then when he comes wandering up and he's like, "Hello, my dears," they're like, "Okay, that's her." Like it's like those people where like they have memories that stick with them. But it's like ones where it's like, "Oh my God, do you remember that one teenage girl who like, did this really kind of super thing when she was like trying to hit on Damien, but then like, it was just really awkward. Anyway, so I'm gonna use her face real quick to blend into this crowd.
Dude,
Um,
if you make that canon that this guy was a heckler one time for one of your shows, that's fucking fantastic.
yeah, I think
I'm on board.
this guy at one point in time was like a heckler on one of those shows, or like was really stuffy and was like, "We don't really like your circus kind around here," type of thing. And then like they see this face coming down, just like la 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 la. They're like, "Okay, all right, that's her."
Nicely
So
done.
she finds her family. They are able to signal and be like, "Okay, this is her." So I think she kind of climbs in the caravan when she's fully out of sight, and I think she's gonna change again. But this time to something that will be new for any viewers, kind of.
Okay.
She
Oh
needs to
God.
get she needs to get comfortable, right?
Sure. Okay.
She needs to get comfortable, especially she's had a lot of discomfort. So
That's pretty fucking cool.
So
That's
she
pretty
goes back to her baseline, the kind of one that is underneath all of the things. This is like the pure Dareblin form of her. And I
That's
think kind of
awesome.
it's that sort of weight that she's kind of shrugging off. She was seeking that comfort of her family. And this is her kind of seeking that comfort in its purest form of like, okay, I don't have to hide around them. And I think it's kind of making up for that little loss that she had with Rook. Um,
Okay.
and I think for her to do this is a signal to her family that something is stressing her out more than usual. Because normally
Perfect.
she can hang out in the human forms like fairly normally. She's used to it. She's at the campsite, and they keep it that way because, like, hey, if some random hiker stumbles upon their campsite, then she looks human just like the rest of them. But for her to take the point to switch into her baseline form is sort of that signal of like, I have news, and I am stressed,
Okay.
and we need to talk real quick.
That's awesome. And I just want to say, that looks cool as fuck. That really does. Don't you guys think? Isn't that awesome?
This
Okay.
one is not using Artbreeder. This is using The Sims.
Right. Just using the Sims. Right. Yeah. That's which is really really cool. All right. So let's get into that. So I'm going to run with that, but I'm going to kind of fill it in a little bit so we can create a scene out of it. Okay. As I'm telling you D&D things that I don't need to say. Okay. Behind the scenes with Brian. So when you come up and they recognize the old man version of you, do you make a kind of like you just give them a nod and then you kind of beeline it for the inside of the caravan to go to a safe space? Or do you address them outside first before you head in?
I think she is doing it quiet. She is trying to do this as humanly quietly as possible. Maybe not entering the caravan from the front, probably like ducking around the side, going behind a bush, like getting into it through something where it maybe looks like the old man kind of wandered away
Okay.
or shows her not physically getting in.
When that happens, your brother and sister are outside. practicing on a couple different acrobatics moves as they were starting to bicker a little bit, and when they stop and talk, and your sister notices you and she kind of hushes her brother.
I think probably she gets inside the caravan and then changes, and then probably like knocks on the caravan door. Like, I'm not sure if the knock picked up, but like, is this picking up? Like,
No,
did it
it's
pick up at
not.
all?
The knocking
Okay.
sound is not. Okay.
Okay.
'Cause
So
I'm gonna bring them to you in this scene. I'm gonna portray them. Okay.
yeah, so like I think she gets in, so then she transforms, and there's no chance that anybody would see. And then to signal to her siblings, she knocks on the door. Knocks on the caravan side.
That's okay. Got you. Okay. Now I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, you would hear whispered words in the gypsy particular language that you understand. The one that's not common, but it's amongst them. It's the sands of the people of the mirror, a combination of theirs and like a gypsy kind of tongue, and they speak. And the father tells the two siblings, "Go back to the preparations for tonight. I am. Give us a moment." You hear a knock that is similar to the one that you produced on the outside, not on the actual door itself, but on the side of the wall. A person that knocks around the door, that's not how it's done. You guys knock on the sides or on the side of the wall, that way you know, and it is matching your knock. From that voice, you can hear that it was Hector, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that he has given you the knock, like a locate call, and he's wanting to come in. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you say, or does you just go ahead and wait that moment?
I think she probably grabs a blanket and pulls it over her form real quick. Just in case when he opens the door, just somebody happens to be in the background where
Okay.
it's like that sort of pull the blanket over and lay down. So if anybody were to like just happen to glance, it's, oh, she's laying down to go sleep. Oh, like whatever the case is.
Okay.
But not enough that they could pick up on any of her features.
Okay. The handsome and aging features of Hector come into the room with the paint mark on his face that you're very familiar of, depicting his place in the cards. Okay. And as he has his hair pulled back, he is somewhat chilled, where it's somewhat cold outside still. Like we said, this is a day where light blowing snow is often, and the wind is cold. As he opens it up, a gust of wind seems to blow into this place, and you are in a very comfortable spot inside this particular caravan. This is somewhere where you sit and rehearse lines. This is almost like the backstage room before a person comes out. This is the dressing room, kind of, at this particular section of the caravan. You're sitting there in front of a mirror as you are looking at yourself through this blanket that is veiled over you, as your horn kind of projects up through it and holds it up off your head a little bit as that wind blows by. It blows by all different kinds of flyers and papers that you've placed on the walls of this thing about all the different shows and things you've been on throughout the years, as the brittle paper rattles from the wind as it comes in. It stirs up quite a bit of dust, and several dozen snowflakes blow in from around him and enter the caravan as he shuts the door behind him quickly. As the ray of light that shoots across the back, you can see, fades and goes away. He goes, "Azara, are you okay?"
So I think, she lowers the blanket and, like, it is kind of very obvious to him of what form she's in, which I imagine may take him a little bit by surprise. Like,
he would come over to you and he would see your face, he would smile, and he would come over to you and he says, "Oh, still the most beautiful face." And he takes you by your face for a minute and he kisses your forehead. And he pulls back and his thumbs kind of rub into your cheeks a little bit. like he's trying to maybe be warm but force a smile on you. And he takes his hands down and he comes back and he looks at you. And he said, "You have seen something. You cannot lie to me."
I am unnerved. I am very unnerved. I was passing up the flyers. The many people very excited. They very engaged. Very happy that we are here. I was very excited for the show, and I got towards the airships and was just placing up some flyers. I met this gentleman who I believe said needed to speak to you or us. He seemed okay enough. I told him when our show was, and then there was another man who was different. He had an energy about him that
He had an energy, you're saying.
he was. I wished not to tell him about the show, but I was just openly talking about it, and I had the flyers in my hand. I can't exactly be like, "Oh, never mind.
He puts
the
his
show
hands
is not
up.
happening."
He puts his hand up to calm you. He goes, I understand. That is why I've given you the task of passing them out rather than some other people. He goes, and for that I am grateful. But, so you've met two men in your short venture out into New Gemdar. But you are still not telling me why it is I see this troubled look upon your face. Azara, what is it?
To clarify, is he did refer to himself as Spider, right?
He referred to himself as what?
I'm trying to remember what the halfling had, because he had explicitly
The spider
said,
is all he
the
told
spider.
you. Yep.
Yeah. And I think she's like, he said he was looking, I think, for us, and he was the spider.
Are you watching him to see if he has a reaction to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that you shield me, and you and
Roll an
Damien
insight.
and Daphne, you shield me from this, but I feel like I've heard that before. And let me roll real quick. I had to go over and grab her pitch.
You're all good. It's all good. Just insight and let me know what you get.
Inside, she rolled a nat 20.
Oh, good. I can
That's
have fun
not
with a nat
any-
20.
That's no modifiers. That is a straight nat 20.
Okay. Okay. You don't need to roll modifiers for that. That's awesome. And you're up there. Even for level 3, that's up there for her. You see him do some things, and you are a studier of people. It's one of the reasons that you're able to do this spell and do it so well. There are certain tells that Hector has. Damien has them too. And normally, Hector is the most suave of the two. But Hector shows tells. He sniffs inwards, and like he's repressing a cough, and you can see him start to rub his thumb within his fingers. And he kind of clears his throat for a bit and avoids eye contact with you for a brief second when you say that name. And all you can think of is the very dim grin of the spider when he was telling you that he needed to come have a talk with you all. You get a flash of that image in your face when you see the uncomfortable reaction of Hector. Now, if you choose to say something about it or not, you rolled, you're able to tell. He's not able to hide this from you. He gets uncomfortable when you mention that name.
I just had a thought.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
We established in the lore about just a minute ago that she can change into the faces of people that they see.
Yep.
And I think briefly she may be like, he looks like this, and then change quickly into the man that she spoke to.
Okay, do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I hate this. Roll and a spellcraft. Arcana is understanding, spellcraft is performing. So if you would, just roll like a 1d20,
Okay.
but add your spell DC modifiers to it, like you were casting a spell. And the 1d20 is going to tell me how awesome this is.
Didn't roll that great.
What'd you get?
I rolled a 3 as a baseline. So modifiers add to that are not going to bring it up much. I don't think.
Well, it's
But
could be charisma and then your proficiency bonus.
charisma would be 3, so what, 6, proficiency 2, so 8.
Yeah. And then what was your dice roll?
So it was a 3, so 3 plus
Oh.
3 plus 2.
Okay, that's kind of a good thing.
Hmm.
Because you see Hector do something that you don't understand. Okay? When you do this, and you abruptly kind of change and do this, it's like, and it looked like this, right? And you look like him, he goes for a weapon out of reflex. And when he can tell, because you didn't do this as perfectly as normally you would, he fights the instinct. And you see a very cold version of him for just that moment. You've seen him be like this before. You can remember him making a face like this before when he's told you to get down and stay quiet inside of the caravan one time when you guys were fleeing for your lives. And you have never quite seen that seriousness of a face on him before. And in that moment, you don't know if maybe he thought that you were the spider here to deceive him. He didn't know if this was some kind of odd crafting, but in that flash moment, he was going for a weapon and he donned that face. And as he does that, he turns from you. And he kind of does, and you can tell, well, no, not with that roll. He seems thrown off a little bit. He says, I sometimes forget how good you are at what you do.
I think probably the minute she saw that face, she would flash back to herself and maybe even shrink back a little bit.
He says, I shield you proudly from things not because of your ability to understand them, Azara, but from my own guilt. There are many there are some things I need to tell you. Some things of these you may already know. And he looks at you kind of solemnly, and there are also many things that you will not. He goes over and he gets on a knee in front of you, and he takes your hand, and he rubs top of it. And he sits down, and he looks up at you. And he says, the more people around, the better for people like us. We blend in. People don't know exactly where to look for us all the time, and this is the safest place I can currently think of that we could make a living. You doing the amazing work that you do, and letting Daphne and Damien perform and do what they do, but I hide from you the fact that there is no safe place for us, for what we have done. And he looks down, he seems a bit ashamed for a minute. And he says, it is not just you that she seeks. And he doesn't say her name. He just says she, as if there is a she that is after them. Now, we've talked about your backstory and the lore and the name of this individual. Has Hector or any of them revealed to you the person that they were working for and her name and her identity and anything like that up to this point?
I think if they have been shielding her, which we have established,
Yes.
then maybe not. I think maybe they would just say her stage name or something that would identify her that if anybody were to say this person is looking for you, she would know it was dangerous. Because if
And
they
what?
never said anything,
Okay. And what did we decide on that name of this individual was? This woman.
I don't think we did.
Okay.
I think we were just referring to her as, kind of a spider.
Yes. She is going to be. I keep on wanting to refer to the Red Queen. Is there a character in fiction right now called the Red Queen? Is there something like that? Because that's the name I keep thinking of that makes sense for this character to be called. But at the same time, I know there's something that sounds like that in the Game of Thrones. Is there a Red Queen in the Game of Thrones?
Probably thinking of the Red Wedding.
Okay, okay.
The Red Queen, though, I was thinking that was another name for the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. But I'll look at it real quick.
Okay. But, I mean, sometimes things that are similar kind of happen. You know what I mean? But at this moment, they are going to call her the Red Queen. And one reason that I'm going to do that is one, because of things that we're not going to talk about in this game, which is her identity. And two is because that's also a playing card.
Mm.
And you know about the symbols that you all have.
Mm.
He is going to refer to her as the Red Queen. Okay?
Okay.
And when he says this to you, his hand gets a little bit tighter, as if the words he's getting ready to say are going to be hard, and he's trying to be firm and comforting with you. Okay? So he says, you can look through the deck many, many times and be lucky enough to draw out regular cards. And let's go of your hand for a minute, and he pulls out a deck of cards from within the inside of his long coat. Okay? Which is very prestigious and reflects the sands of the mirror and its stylings. And he pulls it out, and he starts throwing down different cards. He says, you can pull out the 2. And he talks about a couple more cards, and he keeps throwing a couple out, and he says, or every so often you are unlucky enough to draw a card you didn't plan on, Azara. And he grabs and he takes the card and he flips it towards you, and it's a Queen of Diamonds. It's red. This is the Red Queen. That is the word that he told you to always be cautious of. Okay? And as he takes that card, he places it down. And he takes all the other cards and stacks them together and heftily sits them on top of it, as if to signify he wants to bury it. Okay? And as he does that, he takes your hand again. And he says, stealing you from her is only something that she would say, as she would believe that you were hers, but you are no one's. You are the wind's. You belong to the sands alone, Azara. You belong to no one. Just as I would never try to belong to anyone myself. Keeping you from her was the second reason why we run so much. There is another. And he stands up and he turns over and he goes to a chest in the corner of the caravan. Okay? He moves some papers, and in this chest, you know this is his personal chest. And as he opens it up, he goes inside, and you have this moment. I want to give you a little flashback here because I like creating these things for you guys. Is everybody okay with this? As he's into the chest and he goes to open it up, and I'm making this up right now as I'm going, which is really nice. There's this moment where you can see him get this sad expression on his face. And you've seen it before. I want you to roll me a history check, please, with advantage.
History, so
That's
9
wisdom.
plus 1, a 10.
A 10. That's perfect. That tells you things, but not everything, and that's perfect in this instance. Good job. Good job when you're 10. Okay. As this is drawn out, or as he looks down inside here, you hold your breath for a minute because you recognize that look. It's the look he gets on his face when Daphne or Damien bring up their mother. And you know, in that box, one time when you were very young, he had asked you to, Azara, go get me the costume. I'm in need of the wig and we must hurry. The performance is soon. And when you went into the chest for him one time, he gave you permission to go into it and look into it. And as you were digging through and you're looking for his thing, you saw this curious box inside there. And it looked kind of like a music box. And as you opened it up and a gentle song started playing, he came over top of you and shut it quickly and looked at you and he goes, "That does not look like a wig to me." And he got down close to you when you were younger and he says, "There are some things that are closed and some pieces of the heart that are not accessible, young one. This is a piece of my heart that I do not wish to show anyone. You understand?" And in that moment, you were so curious as a young Diabloan girl, but he was very stern with you in that moment, but tried to end it on a loving note. And when you see him get that same look on his face, you get the feeling he's going for that box. And it creates this lump in your throat, Azara. Okay? And as he takes out that box, that is what he was going for inside of here. Okay? And it's about yay big. Pretty good size. I mean, it's about the size of what would be like a large book. Okay? And as he opens it up, that small, tinkering, chiming sound begins of a very pleasant song. And you had memorized those 3 notes of it all these years, Azara. You never forgot it. And when it starts to play a little bit, now you're starting to have memories. You've heard Daphne humming this and never really quite asked her what it was. You know, now you're starting to put pieces together. And he opens up and he takes out this book. And this book looks like an fantasy, like fairy tales book. It has pictures of dragons that have butterfly wings, and it has silver and stuff like that on it, and it has a cover and a base where it looks like it's made out of sandpaper, where it's supposed to look like the desert, the actual cover of it and stuff like that, with beautiful symbols and binding on it and stuff like that. And he goes over and he lays that book down on a table beside you where the mirror was. He taps his hand on it and he says, This belonged to the Red Queen. And I took it. And I do not plan to ever give it back to her. It was the most happy I have ever seen my love in my life when she accidentally read from these pages. And he says, I will not let her take away my second piece of happiness in this world. One are my children, and two is her memory. He says, if you ever wondered why we are so proficient in becoming anything we wish, surely you've had to have noticed. We can do things that not normal druids can. He raises an eyebrow. He's waiting for a response from you. I cannot hear your voice.
Yeah. Are you
Okay.
sure you wish to share?
Okay.
I think she's thinking back to him saying to her as a kid, there are some
Yeah.
parts of his heart.
I'm with you. He says, I will only share what you need to know. And then this book goes back in here, and you've never seen it before. But the only reason now, Azara, that I share this information with you, you need to know that you are also risking your life for something other than your own survival. He kind of chokes up for a minute. With guilt. For just a foolish man's memory of his beloved. It's poetic. It's the actor's way. It is not just you that brings us this danger, it is mine. It is her memory and the preservation of it. He explains to you over the series of the next 5 minutes, Azara, that this book is a very ancient tome, okay, that has different fantasy stories within it, and has blank pages for more stories to be written, okay? This book has a very strange arcane way of revealing things about a person that they didn't know. Okay, so as he explains to you, firstly, Daphne, the sister, you have seen the creature that she can turn into, the one that she really calls her true self. Okay? And you recognize this thing as a mixture between some kind of blue lioness and a peacock in one fantasy creature you know does not exist in nature. But she can become that creature. This book has something to do with that realization. You know that Damien turns into like a six-legged great ram that has multiple sets of horns. And you know that creature also does not exist in nature. But somehow, in the reading of this book, whether it been a fantasy story about that creature, or reading a story that became about themselves, they found and were able to attune and become these creatures that druids normally can't become. And then he also reveals to you that the things that he can do and create and become was a story that he dreamt of, about being able to protect his children at all costs. And in that, a fable was created in the later pages of this book that told the story of him doing so, and the colossal creatures that he can become that druids normally never could. Something about this book, through the use of fables and bardic words and writing, make things possible that aren't possible. Make things real that aren't real. And he tells you that one day he hopes to tell a story of when his beloved didn't die. And he is waiting for the proper words to come to him. Because when he does that, he wants to do that right. And the Red Queen wants this book back. Okay? That's what he shares with you. And he says, I wish you could have met her. I see her in Daphne's eyes. Every day. She would be so upset with us to fuss over her so. But at the same time, God, she is worth it. And one day, we will see her again. The Red Queen cannot have this book back. And he closes it and puts it back into the box. Is there anything you would like to say?
I am fighting for my survival, and part of that is protecting my heart. And that is you, and that is Daphne, and that is Damien.
Mhm.
If that looks like this book, then I will do whatever I can to protect.
Okay. Okay.
And I think probably there's a little bit sort of stirring in her that there's a little bit of outsiderness coming in.
Outsiderness. New word.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. that feeling of like kind of being on the outskirts, like this person that connects the three of them, this woman, this mother that she never met, matters so much to them that, like, you know, they would do this, that they would want to bring her back, that they're like stole this book and everything like that. And it's something that, you know, she admires and she wants to help them, but there is that sort of sense of loss of I can never truly connect with them on this,
Mhm.
and that I am different, and that I am something else.
In that moment where he sees your eyes searching in that, he puts his fingers up underneath your chin and raises your head just a little bit, and he goes, if you think I am bad, she would have spoiled you rotten. And he smiles.
Do we stop the show? Do we run?
Never. And he says, we are made of stronger stuff than that. We do not run, we dance. We perform. And we do it here in New Gemdar. When you are ready, come out and join us. And tell us about the things you have conjured, the stories you have selected for us. We are ready and waiting for you. And as far as this person that comes to see me, this spider, let him come. We will face him together. We are strongest this way.
I think that before I review my material, I may want to go on a walk. And then I think she kind of hops back over,
Nice.
kind of gets ready, kind of like maybe kind of wraps her head a little bit, and she's gonna head to the bar where the other two are.
Awesome. Well, in that scene, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. I had an idea roughly in the back of my head about the book, but I was just going with it. That works. That's cool. Okay. Spoilers. Random shit. So nicely done. Good deal. Good deal. I hope this is helping create this character and helping you really get involved in it. That's nice. Anyway, moving on. Stop patting yourself in the back. Play D&D, Brian.
So this incredible moment happens, and then pause, freeze frame of what happens between the other two before she wanders into the bar.
Doodly-doo. Doodly-doo. Yeah. Go. All right. So, Arsin, as you are standing in line, looking about this place and paying attention to the Thracrine juggler and his gnomish interpreter saying extremely funny things through the clicks and chatter of this. You, I want you to do me an Arcana check, please.
Ooh.
Oh, with advantage. Sorry. And if it's bad with advantage, it's bad and you're just proper fucked, as they would say in England. But let's see how it goes, because there's a reason why there would be advantage on this.
Well, it went from 8 to a 17.
That's
so.
better. I mean, better. Okay. So 17, is that after bonuses?
Yes.
Nicely done. See, listen here. I just want to say, in one episode, you went from 5-minute dice rolls to that could have been 10 seconds tops. And I am proud of you. I think that was fantastic. You were ready. You're on that shit, buddy. That's how we do it. All right. So, Jeremy, I would like for your character to make the same roll. With advantage, Arcana check. Tell me what you get.
To 14.
14. Okay, not bad. You feel the shadow. Arsin. When you got into this line, you were the brooding individual, as I mentioned before. And people were kind of looking at you nervously, but you kind of turned all them off when you started paying attention to him and scoping out the room as I was describing to you before. But as you're inside here now, and there are hardwood floors in different sections, especially up around the bar, then there's some stone and some rugs and things in the central where the big round tables are. You feel a board or two creak behind you, and the shadow of something looms over top of you, as if there is something even larger than you standing behind you. At the same time, when you go up, Rook, do you have a hood on or anything, Arsin? Hold on, Arsin.
I would say no.
Okay.
Because of the way his monk is.
That's perfectly fine. You would walk into the back of a humbly dressed Draken, but the thing is, when you get close, you hear and feel things from him that remind you of the dreams, Rook, that you have at the end of your worst days. You hear the backward sound, whispers wash over you. You smell that smell of things that have laid old for a long time. And as he senses the same thing, and you hear those voices, and it's not even comprehensible speech, but almost like drawling whispers of things that could be all around you, but you just can't see. Okay? You begin to turn your head just a little bit in this moment, Arsin, and you would see the eyes and the face of someone that is going through something very similar to the pain and things that you go through, Rook. So in that moment, no one has to say anything. You could turn around to face him. You could only give a half glance and stay in line. But there is something, a connection to something that haunts you both in this moment that is undeniable. Is anyone doing anything in this instance, or do you want me to move forward?
I think Arsin will actually turn around and say something to Rook.
Okay. You happen to know what that something is? I mean,
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just giving you shit, buddy.
It seems we are either sensing the same thing or we are from the same place.
Rook, you see the face of a Draken that carries the same heavy burden on it, but looking at you with a bit of innocence, curiousness. Maybe they don't understand what it is to be another scorn the way you do. Maybe it's something completely different than that. Because that question has holes, right? Proceed, please.
Rook will stare at him for a moment, just kind of out of his corner of his eye. Wear a similar shroud as me, though yours does not seem to weigh as heavy.
Now, I want you all to understand, I know D&D's tough when we have two quiet, like, offstandish characters, so I'm not going to force dialogue here. So if there's more you want to say, please do. If not, tell me, and I can move this forward, because, we'll get there. Because I'm not going to force stoic people to be like, so, hey, I'm here to sell some shit. How are you? I'm not going to do that to you. But that's tight. That works. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else either one of you want to say? Do you have something in rebuttal to that? He says, your veil's not as heavy as his. You guys, when you're done with your conversation, I will watch and enjoy this, and you let me know when you're finished.
All right. Well, the truth is, I don't even know my past, and I am hoping to learn about it.
Sometimes the past is better left where it's at, although easy enough to dig up.
I have to. I've begun a task to learn it so I can move forward.
Stick close. I might have answers for you.
Okay.
We're gonna try this voice.
What's that, buddy?
We're gonna try this voice.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna turn my hearing stuff off because I seem to talk slower when I do that.
Yeah, well, it is. So what were you, did you have an effect on your voice there and it was slowing you down?
Yeah, I got two different voices. I have one as Arsin's voice because I wanted to try that one out, and a dragon one that I found on the internet earlier.
Okay, well, and it came across, it was actually kind of neat because you were slow and delayed. I couldn't hear any sound effect. All it did was it seemed like your internet signal was slow or something.
Okay, yeah, because I think with the hear myself, I was slowing down my talk.
It's
yeah,
tough,
definitely
isn't it?
when you hear yourself, it slows it down. But what you have to do too with Zoom is, the little microphone button that says mute?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the little, arrow thing? You have to make sure that you switch over the microphone to the voice mod.
Oh, the line?
Yeah, the select microphone.
The line, voice mod, virtual audio.
What would Sam Regal say right here? Hey, this break brought to you by sound effects. That's right, sound effects. Yeah.
Nope, that one wasn't it. Because that was speaker.
I tell you what, let's just move on a little bit and we'll talk about this technical stuff here in just about 15 minutes. But it's all good. Hey, the more you know. There you go. It's good stuff. So, right as soon as you get ready to say some more stuff, I want to describe this character to you. I'm not making this up in a moment. This is something that's existed. So you hear a ho! Sounds like a heavy conversation here, am I right? You're up next. We've been waiting for you for probably the better part of 3 minutes. So, welcome. and we'll get you a big table, couple big fellas, am I right? Just this way. I will describe this person to you as if Robin Williams went to cosplay dressed up like a satire.
I could see it.
Okay? He says, "You guys from around here?" I mean, somewhere close anyway. I don't know if you sleep, indoors in the woods. I don't know. From the look of things, could be a bit of both, am I right? He kind of laughs and says, "We'll start with you, Hightower. Where are you exactly from?"
That's for me.
Sure.
As I travel from a little bit of everywhere, you could say.
So you travel. So am I to think that we're going to nickname you Mail? We'll call you Mail. Maybe Postage. Maybe you're Mail, and he's Postage. I like that. And he kind of smiles again. And he says, "And from you, and by the way, in case you're going to use the great frame, I travel." He's already used that. So you're going to have to come up with something better. That's all I can tell you. And who and where are you from? And now he's looking at you, Arsin. He talks so quick, it's hard to get in a word edgewise.
I am Arsin, and
Arsin
I am
and?
just from. I
Arsin-
am just from the temple up north, up on the mountain. That's latest I know where I'm from.
He looks at you and goes, "Yeah, most people do. But that's fine. We all have our struggles. Am I right? Maybe a lot of people come here to drink things. Maybe you're coming here to remember." That'd be great, wouldn't it? He says, "Tell you what we're going to do. I've got the perfect table for you two, but what I'm going to need you guys to do is stay in the back, kind of away from people, because there's a lot of folks in here and they cannot see over top of you. And by the way, I just for disclaimer purposes," and he pulls out a paper really quick. He says, "Are we allowed to make jokes on your behalf while you're here? Because you kind of stand out. Yes, no, maybe? Hightower? Male?"
Bother me a bit.
What'd you say?
Won't bother me a bit.
Jokes aplenty. I like it. It's better than mail. And you, postage stamp.
Sure,
Jokes at your expense. What are we thinking?
sure.
Sure, talkative group, but we'll fix that. That's what we do here. I am Quill, the owner of the Endless Satyr, because I don't stop. It's true. It's true. I hear that a lot. He kind of throws a knuckle and kind of throws an elbow at you and stuff like that. And he goes, "And because you have signed this paperwork and said that, we can kind of poke fun at you and stuff, if you know what I'm saying, first drink is on us. It looks like we'll make our money on both of you probably anyway. So, yeah, first one's not a big deal." He says, "Enjoy yourselves and try not to break the chairs." Okay. And he takes off. He leads you two over to one of the round stone tables towards the back of the room, but you guys would easily be able to see way out across everyone to the stage. It's probably about 40 foot back from the actual stage. The room itself may be about the size of damn near a basketball court in its length, and you guys are about 2/3 the way back. Okay? With that, let's go ahead and say, I'll give you guys a chance. Are you two? He's kind of pushed you into this, which is really interesting. Are you two okay with sitting with each other? Is a conversation that the two of you have in this moment? Do you want me to give you a chance to have?
Sure.
Go ahead, guys. He's told you that. He's showed you the table. There are menus sitting up in the middle. There are really awesome lanterns and they have different murals depicting different scenes from different plays that are on them. So when the light reflects out from the lanterns, it shines these awesome little silhouettes on the tables. Go ahead. Have your conversation.
What's your name, dry kid?
Arsin.
name's Rook. Tell me what you know of yourself.
Tell him what you know of what? I couldn't quite hear you, Jeremy.
Tell me what you know of yourself.
So, for that, just because I know you, maybe you're not sure, you know the things I explained to you in the first session 0, and everything that's happened in this D&D so far. You know about Draken history, and that's what you know right now, boss.
All right. Arsin would reply to the Rook saying, all I know is the deep history of my kind, but as my personal self, all I know, as far as I know, is only about the last few hours.
It's interesting. How old are you?
What'd you say in rebuttal there, Jeremy? I'm sorry.
I said, how old are you?
Okay. You don't know. And it just dawns, that just dawns on you.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fucked up, Brooke.
Rook lets out a little bit of a chuckle and disbelief. Seems surprising that you know your name.
Last thing I'll hint you at. You know your name, Arsin, because you remember it being called out to you by that force. Okay? It's beautiful. Good shit.
I only know my name because of that force we felt earlier. At least, I don't know if you felt it, but I at least did.
Felt it. That's one way to put it.
As he says that, he lowers his hood, brings his scarf down, and you see deep scars, like claw gashes in his neck and like under his eye, across his head.
I felt them too.
Wow. In that moment, let me go back to Azara for just a moment, and then we'll conclude tonight, okay? Azara, you're making your way, I believe, on a walk, reflecting on everything that Hector has told you. That was a pretty detailed thing, so I don't need to put any kind of perspective in your mind here. I'm sure you've got plenty to work with, right? So you were heading back to the Endless Satyr to meet up with Rook to kind of clear your head and have a minute to either think or not think about this, correct?
She was going to the Endless Satyr because she wanted something lighthearted to get her mind off things. And she had kind of overheard the sort of jokey thing. And I think unconsciously she's looking for Rook. I think consciously it's more so I need to lighten the mood and get a joke. But I think there is this part of her brain where she felt a link to this person, and that link is separate from her family and from the weight that she's feeling currently.
Okay.
It's not a conscious thought, though. She's not consciously being like, hey.
Well, that's cool. And I do like it when you guys give me and the audience your inner thoughts. That's really fun. I mean, sometimes you may not say a thing a whole episode, but just your mental thoughts are what speaks volumes about your character. So thank you for that. That's awesome. As you make your way there, you can see that the line has slowed to a certain degree, and you're able to go all the way up into the entrance, but there are still 3 or 4 people in front of you. As you show up, you see the man I described as Quill, the owner and proprietor of the Endless Satyr, standing up on stage and addressing the crowd and thanking the Thrycreen and his mime for their performance. And he says, so just a short break, and then we'll be back with more acts in just a little bit, so don't go anywhere, okay? Everyone, enjoy. And everyone kind of gets up and claps a little bit and cheers and whatnot. And when that happens, you're scanning the room, and you're kind of looking around. And as everyone starts clapping and stuff, you see one particular table that's somewhat empty with 2 larger individuals sitting at that seem to be engaged in a conversation and are not paying attention to their surroundings. One is Rook, but his hood is pulling off. And when you look across the room and you see him, your breath is somewhat taken away because you are now seeing the face. And you are seeing that the soft-spoken, dark, brooding kind of Valdros carries quite heavy scars. And there's a moment where you're like, oh my. You know what I mean? You understand now why he keeps that stuff up. And you would see him in the company of a Draken that seems to be in very humble attire. I mean, if you were ever to play like a commoner or something like that in a play or do something like that, that's the outfit this person has on. Also large and seems troubled in that moment. Okay? What is it you are doing at this moment, Azara, as you are waiting in line in the form that you're in now? Correctly, you went ahead and you've taken back on your typical Azara form, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything particular you're doing, or are you just waiting in line patiently?
It's funny of like she is also troubled in this moment, but she doesn't brood. So I think she goes like, I think she kind of goes up and be like, excuse me, I see I'm my friend. Is it okay if I come in? He's the one in the back there, very large.
Okay. As that happens, Quill comes over as you were talking to a half-elf female that was kind of working the door, and she kind of looks at you like, what? And he goes, oh, I've got this one. Whoa. He looks at you and is being comically flirtatious for just a moment. And he goes, people like you don't wait in line, my dear. A desert rose. It would seem that we have here a long way to travel just to hear a Thrycreen juggle balls, am I right? And
I have to see the other performers, the other actors.
Oh, outstanding. So you'll be staying with us for a while then. That's fantastic. You said you saw... Who is it you're here to see?
The very large man in the back who had the hood. I don't recognize the new friend with him, but I was traveling with him earlier.
He looks at you. Are you sure? And he gets serious. He goes, if you're in trouble, child, you could tell me.
No.
That's the table you're looking to go to?
Yes.
Of course it is. I'm just making jokes. He goes, no, but seriously, if you're in trouble, yell.
Thank you.
Like that. He makes a weird face like that. And he goes, I'll leave you be. We might be making fun of them just a little bit. They are hard to miss. So, enjoy the show. But don't tell them I said so. I like to see the reaction of people when they're all like, I'm mean and stuff like that. It's going to be fun for me. It's going to be fun for everybody in here. Okay?
It will be your my little secret.
Secrets. That'll work. Okay then. This way. In that moment when everyone dies down from the clapping of the Thrakreen leaving the stage, and there seems to be this intermission waiting for the next person to perform, Rook, you see this female. Did you tell him your name earlier?
I think so.
Okay, we'll go with it. Hey, it's canon now. It's canon. We're making it as we go.
Oh,
One
actually,
chapter at a time. What's that?
There is something I was thinking about.
Yeah, what's that?
Retroactively, should we change the day of the performance to tomorrow night?
I mean, it's right now. It's probably like 4:35, and the sun's not down yet, so it still makes sense that it's tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, it still does.
Okay.
So, the only thing I would do in editing, like lore changing, is when you took off and went for a walk, you either don't want to be here too long, or you would have given, Hector, maybe the plans and things you've drawn up for the play that you have planned. So him and Daphne and Damien can work on it while you're gone.
I think she probably maybe hashed it out quickly with them
Okay, I'm good
before
with that.
coming over, and then I think she was like, I maybe need a little change of scenery. I think there was some joke place that I passed on my way here. I'll pass out
Joke
some
place.
flyers there. Yeah, I'll pass out some flyers on the way, like, there too. Actually,
Funny how? Funny how? Like it amuses you? Funny how? Right? So yeah, I get it.
And I think actually, if she could be like to Quill, like to also be like, we are having a performance later, type thing, and she may have given some to him as well.
Okay. That's awesome, and that makes this work out really, really well, right? I like that. So you know what they're doing. You don't have that guilt weighing on you. You can enjoy this moment. And as you go over to the table, I'd say we go ahead and just stop for tonight. And then we pick up on the next episode. We can do the big interaction, and you all three are sitting at the same place. Does that sound good? Okay, I like it. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, guess what? Through D&D magic, you're at the same fucking table. I like it. It's good stuff, man. So, good game, good interactions, good making up some lore, got some voices, did some neat shit there. I'm liking this. This group's going to be a lot of fun. It's nice to see it unfold without anything really heavy. We're just making it, So, let me get ready to stop this here. As always, and once again, kind of the same thing. I am Brian Kynes. On behalf of Colby, Bella, and Jeremy, like say thanks. I hope you enjoy these, and we will see you again next Sunday. Take care of everybody.